Welcome, everyone, to the closing plenary of the 2026 MSR Research Colloquium, The Mystical and the Research. My name is Tianyuan. I will be co-hosting this session together with Dr. Kathryn Goldman Schuyler. Our tech hosts are Daniel Nitschka. The spirit of the closing plenary is to create a shared reflective space. After 2 days of rich sessions, conversations, practices, encounters, we want to pause together and ask, what has emerged? What is still unfolding within us? And how might this colloquium continue to live in our research, teaching, leadership, and communities? Now I will lead us in a short Zen meditation as our opening grounding practice. For this practice, I invite us to sit with two English words that sound the same, but point in different directions. When breathing in, I will ask you to silently say no, as in knowing, understanding, researching. When breathing out, I will ask you to say no, as not knowing, not grasping, letting go. Now, please sit. Let the body be still. Let the breath be natural. Breathing in, silently say no, as in knowing. Breathing out, no, as in not knowing. Breathing in, no. Breathing out, no. Now let the words drop away. Just sitting. Just breathing. Not knowing. No need to know. Simply present with yourself, with one another, with this moment. Daniel, would you please unmute others? And now gently return to the room. Thank you, everyone. Now it's my great honor to introduce my co-host, Dr. Kathryn Goldman Schuyler. Kathryn is Professor Emeritus of Organization Development, a longtime MSR contributor, and one of our Flamekeepers. trained in socially engaged Buddhist chaplaincy with Roshi Jung Halifax, and meditation with Mingyur Rinpoche. Kathryn brings deep contemplative grounding. Her Dharma name is Shikan, meaning just do it. I'm always inspired by her courage and steady presence. Kathryn will guide us into deeper reflection through several rounds of questions. I'm deeply grateful to share this space with her. We are also very pleased that members of the MSR Leadership Team are here with us, including Dr. Tom Calham, Chair of the MSR Division of the Academy of Management, Dr. Anil Maheshwari, Chair-elect of the MSR Division. We look forward to hearing their reflections as part of our collective conversation. In a moment, I will begin by offering a short personal reflection on our colloquium theme. After that, I will invite a few participants to share reflections on the important themes that emerged from the sessions they participated in. Then I will turn it over to Kathryn, who will guide us into deeper reflections through additional questions. Towards the end, I will share a brief closing remark, and Kathryn will lead us in the final meditative practice of dedication and aspiration. Please note this closing plenary will be recorded in full. We invite everyone to share only what you feel comfortable having included in the recording, but there's no pressure to speak. Listening deeply is also a form of participation. I would like to begin with a short reflection on why we chose the theme of this colloquium, the mystical and research, dwelling at the threshold of knowing. This theme emerged from our MSR Research Committee through collective brainstorming, and it reflects a larger movement I sense within the MSR community. Over the years, MSR has grown into a global network of management scholars and practitioners, many of whom are themselves spiritual or religious practitioners. At the same time, the field has often stayed closer to mainstream paradigms, being cautious to directly engage first-person mystical experience or the inner process of spiritual transformation. From a positivist perspective, the mystical may seem too subjective, too unreliable, and too difficult to translate into scholarly language. More recently, I feel something is shifting. There's a growing desire in our community to ask, what if these experiences are part of what research must learn how to honor? Many scholars have already opened this path. Mark Krieger and Yvonne Sen, for example, explicitly recognize in their paper the legitimacy of mysticism in spiritual research. In this colloquium alone, we have heard from many speakers, such as our keynote addresser, Dr. Andrew Newberg and Dr. Marilyn Schlitz, who have studied mystical experience through diverse approaches. We also had the gift of Dr. Tanara Goran-Goran's plenary on sacred leadership among First Peoples, which reminds us to honor indigenous and sacred ways of knowing. At the same time, MSR scholars, such as Judy Neal, Dr. Judy Neal, Dr. Jerry Bieberman, Dr. Julia Stolberg-Walker, Dr. Chris Laszlo, Dr. Tom Calham, just to name a few, they have done pioneering work that helped prepare the ground for the kind of inquiry we are continuing here. This theme is also deeply personal for me. I have had mystical experiences. One of them was a prophetic dream during a very difficult period near the end of my first PhD. That dream came after intense suffering, prayer, and the feeling of being heard by Guan Yin, the Bodhisattva of compassion. That experience convinced me that there are alternative realities that cannot be fully apprehended by Newtonian science or positivist research. Later, in 2019, when I conducted fieldwork at American Zen centers, I began with a rather conventional research question about wisdom-enhancing teaching practice, but the fieldwork gradually became something else. It became what I call Zen-informed spiritual research. I witnessed how Zen communities confronted collective trauma after their founding teachers' misconduct. The boundary between researcher and the researched, the personal and the collective, began to diminish. I was awakened to heal my own deepest wounds, rooted in my father's domestic violence during my childhood. It was a miracle. This experience convinced me that research can be healing and empowering. This is why I believe the mystical matters for management research. Organizations are places where people suffer, awaken, heal, seeking meaning, forgive, encounter mystery, and respond to calling. When we say dwelling at the threshold of knowing, we do not need to rush into certainty. We do not need to force the mystical into old categories too quickly. We can stand at the threshold with humility, courage, discernment, and openness. My hope is that this colloquium has created a small opening for this kind of inquiry. Research that is scholarly and contemplative, personal and collective, grounded and vulnerable, healing and empowering. And now I would love to hear what has opened for you. I would like to invite a few participants to share brief reflections on our first question. What important themes, insights, or questions do you see emerging from the sessions you participated in? I'm going to paste this question. Thank you, Daniel. You have already pasted this question in the chat. Thank you so much. So we have asked participants to self-identify to share their reflection during the closing plenary. And now I will invite Diana Eunice to answer, but I will, just as a general reminder for all participants, to allow as many participants as possible to share in this closing plenary, I will suggest you keep your reflection brief and right to the point, to the essence, please. Diana. Okay, because I'm not hearing from Diana.
Since we don't hear from Diana, let's hear from Anil. Then Diana can speak next if she wishes.
Okay, so I thought of what I might want to say, and let me make sure I see some of my points. One of the wholeness is that I feel this was a very good event, very long, 36 hours, but a lot of 25 odd sessions. And very well executed operationally. Sometimes it felt like an overkill having these two people working on a session like that for people who are experienced with doing it. But nonetheless, it can't hurt. It just was very well organized. That's one. I felt the topic was very bold, and it is to go beyond the edge. I know 3 years ago I wanted to do on AI and sort of what is MSR and consciousness. And there was a lot of resistance. What does MSR got to do with consciousness? And eventually we agreed. We did it, and we had a very rich session for 24 hours, and we had huge attendance that time. So I feel like taking bold risks, bold chances is the right thing to do. So that is a big thing to go beyond what we have done before. And I feel that MSR is at the threshold of being that the big platform where everything in the world can unite and provide the consciousness for everybody to come together. So that is a very big thing. I enjoyed the previous session on the methods, and there are no perfect methods, but the fact that we're trying different methods, that is good. There was a good, rich Q&A. The topic of AI that we spoke on, that's kind of more passion area, although I'm very into consciousness also. But that discussion was very rich, open discussion. We did bring out the thing of forgiveness, very emotional topic. I thought somebody asked whether it's spiritual or is it what is that? Something else or psychological. Actually, it was more emotional. It was very rich again early today. So all the sessions and Judy did a wonderful session with music. And so wide variety of items, a lot of variety of methodologies in which people were talking about spirituality. So that was good. So I would just compliment the team on doing a good job, and I hope we take heart in um, stretching pushing the boundaries in terms of what we want to do. And so, good job, I want to say. And the audience has been wonderful. Some of the people are, diehard believers, and they've been asking and raising questions. Ravi Chinta being one. So Neil has been very active this time. So I love that. Love that. But also there's some new, and I would love to make sure we engage Margot and like a Terina and Siddharth and others and capture their name, and because they've been around, so we engage them more. Maybe ask them what interests them, and just do more of what's helping grow the field. So again, good job, and I
Thank you,
commend the
Anil.
team on doing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to repeat the question. It's about what important themes, insights, or questions do you see emerging from the sessions you participated in? So I'm going to invite Tom to share his reflection.
Thank you, Tien. I just want to compliment the organizing team for the fantastic work and for the speakers that you were able to get to this session. There were some very amazing speakers. So great work. The theme was, the theme, this felt like more like a retreat. I know it's not, so, and, my meditations after this were very powerful. Yeah. And I monitor my heart. This is empirical, right? I monitor it went way down at night and my heart rate variability went way up. These are all amazing indications of calmness and stuff like that. So, my body reacted to this as very powerfully, very good session. I would say one theme is unity and diversity. There were so many presentations and they came at this from very different perspectives, but they seem to all kind of converge around, what we're aiming at is helping ourselves understand these experiences and other people understand these experiences, but from many different perspectives. And that's what I saw as a major theme here. I saw transformation as a theme here. Andrew Newberg talked about his observation of brains and the observation of the, physiological transformation of brains in the mystical states. 2,000 brain scans, and Marilyn Schlitz talked about 1,000 interviews where they found out that intention and attention were foundational in contributing to these sort of things. And we talked about the spiritual research paradigm, developing that, and the work that Tianyuan and Chris did on that. That was great. I'm gonna make it short. I'm gonna leave with an observation that Marilyn Schlitz said. In the 17th century, there were religious wars, huge religious wars in Europe. People were killing brothers and brothers were killing each other over religion. And out of that came science. Science was born out of a hatred or a disappointment in spiritual and religious uh, conversation. So the whole idea behind science was we're not going to deal with religion. We're not going to deal with politics. We're going to observe things as they are. So it was very oriented to external observation. And there ended up being an agreement. And this is what Marilyn said, and I had read this before. The church will look after the interior world of human beings. Universities will look after the exterior world and the material world. And we're left with this legacy. Every one of us that's in an academic institution that is not religious, that's secular, is left with this legacy of you do not touch this, you do not touch spirituality, you do not touch religion. That belongs somewhere else. And in fact, that stuff is spooky and it could end up killing us all. That's what's behind it. So what we're trying to do is reunite something that was torn apart 400 or 500 years ago. That's not an easy thing to do. When you talk to people in universities, they say, you're doing crazy stuff.
Tom,
so I'm going to leave it at that.
I have to stop you here.
I'm done.
Yeah, you have another opportunity to respond to Q2. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, Tom, for the many themes you reflected on. And Kathryn, so now it's time for me to turn it over to you as we continue this collective reflection. So I know Kathryn may also want to share your reflection, your response to Q1. Up to you. You will now guide us into the questions, the next rounds of questions. So I now hand it over to you.
Yes, thank you. And by the way, everyone, and Tian, I completely appreciate the challenge you faced in keeping this on time. And I too will try to keep right to the time. We are 1 minute late, I believe, or 2, but just so everybody else knows, because they don't know that. So this portion, it's now in my 57 past whatever hour you're in. And we're going to do this portion until 1/4 past the next hour. So that's my boundary, just so that you're aware of that. So as I go into this, I want to mention that my own background, the main research projects that I got into through the Academy and through MSR was a multi-year exploration of what I called waking up at work. And I never thought of that as mystical at all. But it was definitely grounded in and intended to be first, second, and third person research. So we were really trying to bridge those areas and bridge the personal and keep it what we thought of as scientific. But of course, some people didn't because they thought it was just that only third person is scientific. So that's an interesting thing we face. And what I felt, everyone, that I thought was really unique for this colloquium, I don't even quite have words for it, was that there was really a coming together and exploration of research interests across groups and types of research that don't usually connect or interconnect. And that what's unique about MSR is that we are beginning to sense the interdependence of the very different kinds of sessions that we had. For example, the session on ethics yesterday, if we compare that with the session that took place from India, where most of the presenters were from India, that was very much grounded in their own personal spiritual experience. I think just that ability to move from one thing to another is really important for MSR and hasn't been done so much. Bringing that into the research arena, not so much the retreat arena. How to bring that together as part of our research is a question that I encourage us all to continue thinking about as we move forward. Now, my task is to ask you exactly that, about what you want to do as you move forward. So the question is, and I invite you to take a moment or two to really reflect on this. And write some notes if you're a note writer, or just contemplate. But before we jump in, What kind of MSR research are you most drawn to doing, given your own work, life experience, and sense of calling? And is it a continuation of what you've been doing that is like what you've been doing, or is there something new that is kind of bubbling up, but you haven't quite figured out how to do it or whether you can fund it? That's the question. And has someone put that into the chat?
Yes.
So people have it? Good.
Here.
Great. I don't see it there. Oh, there it is. Okay, somebody answered already. That's why I didn't see it. So again, what kind of research related to MSR are you most drawn to doing, given your own work, life experience, and sense of calling? And let's just pause for a minute and give you a chance to reflect on that. And then I see that Ravi has posted something into the chat. We'll look at the chat in a couple of minutes. So everyone who wishes to put it in the chat, please put your comments in the chat. We'll take some time to read some highlights from the chat. But would anybody like to speak to this question? Please raise your Zoom hands if you'd like to. And then I'll see your Zoom hands.
Kathryn, yes. Tom.
Yeah, Tom, please.
Yes. Well, I was actually asked to speak to this. So yeah, I think what I would like to see MSR focus on is what I said in the last session, and that is developing a spiritual research paradigm for individuals, meaning helping people know how to do inner work that is secular, because most of us are part of secular institutions, so we can talk about religion, but it needs to be backed up by evidence and science, that sort of thing. So it would be developing a spiritual research paradigm. Another way of articulating it is helping people engage in inner work that leads them to find the source of knowledge within each of them. And you can think about this as a project that could occur over decades. It's taken us 500 years to develop the kind of research methods that we have in science, in observing the external world. I think it would take time to develop the pedagogy and the scientific and the spiritual research paradigm to help individuals know their inner selves, their inner divine selves. So that's my proposal. I think that's a long-term project, but we need to start on it and develop it over a period of time. And I think that's one of the ways that we will help our society transform one individual at a time based on becoming more aware of their own inner selves, their own inner true innate selves.
Thank you, Tom.
Ultimately, some will know the Buddha mind, some may not. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. And by the way, everyone, just so that you're aware, please, as much as you can, before you speak, think of the heart of what it is that's most important and share it as essentially, as briefly as you can, so that we can hear from a whole variety of views. And I will probably most of the time pick the hands in sequence, but I may jump out of sequence if most of the people speaking have already given presentations and somebody's asking to speak who has not been an active part. Okay? So, please, let's see, Anand. And I can't see you right now, but your hand was up first. Thank you. It's good to see you again. I saw you what was late last night here, but probably a completely different time where you are.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. I quite agree with Tom Cullen's, ideation. I have also reflected a lot on secularism and the secular approaches to studies. I discovered a word. I don't know whether it will, be acceptable in this audience. The word was ecumenical. Rather than staying away from the religion, if we could develop frameworks for equal respect for all the religions, then I guess the integration between the spirituality and religion happens, I think, better. So that's one point that so inner engineering definitely is required, and one person, at a time. We are living in an organizational society where organizations pervade our existence. So unless and until we find means of transforming, the organizations and institutions too, I guess the process is going to be a little frustrating for everyone, but obviously individually it is just definitely transformational.
And I need to ask you, Anand, to make like one more point, because I really want to make sure we hear from a variety of speakers. Otherwise, and we have such limited time.
Yeah. So, and this, the collective, the transformation of the collective entities, be it the organizations, be it the institutions, local, national, and even international, these, to my mind, would necessitate a larger framework than the framework of individual inner engineering. And if we, as a community, could think in terms of developing that framework, probably this will help us make and leave behind a better world for all.
Thank you so much. And let me say here, this may help us stay brief. If when we speak, think that you have 1 minute. That's it. Okay? And then that will change how you'll approach the time. Radha. Would you like to speak next,
Yeah.
Radha? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. At the outset, I would like to congratulate MSR team for doing a fantastic work for the colloquium. I have already written 3 areas of future research for consideration of the MSR team, leadership team. But I wanted to highlight what appealed to me most during the colloquium. I have attended all the 3 for the past 3 years, the research colloquiums. This year, I found that a lot of thought and planning has gone into it. The selection of plenary speakers was superb.
Excuse me, Radha, but the question right now is what kind of research you're most drawn to doing, given your work, life experience, and sense of calling. It's wonderful that you appreciate that, but we've moved on.
Yeah. So my research is using multiple methodologies or research paradigms for doing spiritual research or multi-faith research, because I feel that if we do it for individual faiths or individual religion, then it becomes very confined and very narrow. But if we want wider applications and if we want generalization, then we find a lot of similarity among religions and among faiths. For example, Zen methodology that was being explained in the last session, or other speakers have shared their methodology, or in my presentation, I shared interpretive and positivistic paradigm. So we can
you want to build on, remember I said 1 minute. You want to build on what you've been doing with multiple forms of methodology.
Methodologies and spiritual areas, common
Great.
areas of research. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to jump because, Ravi, were you in a session? Did you present yet or not?
No, I did not present, but I talked.
Then jump in, okay, with what research you'd like to do very briefly.
Less than a minute. I would like. I'm exploring really, not as a research project, but for my own self-learning, this specific topic of letting go. We call it renouncement, renouncing or delinking with the external world, so that the inner journey becomes faster or better, and seeking the eternal would be faster and better and so forth. So essentially the research topic is letting go or renouncing. That's all.
How beautiful. Thank you. And we can see how that would connect with what's going on in the world in general, which is not going in that direction. So thank you for bringing that in. Let's see. Somebody withdrew. So Sunil.
So area which I look at is how spirituality can improve management models, frameworks, and assumptions.
Wow. Do you want to say another sentence? I haven't said that to anybody else. How can it? How would you research that?
So see, I mean, the whole sense of MSR is, trying to seize management, spirituality, and religion. But what is that? I think the whole our focus or end objective of MSR should also be to get spirituality into the management world as it exists, so that it can help solve existing problems of the world. Whether you're looking at financial crisis, corruption, overuse, whatever, all that. So unless we see that existing models, management models that are practiced, taught, and researched are the problem area, we won't go further. So the lasting contribution we can do to this world is to make refinements, bring changes into those assumptions, frameworks, and models, so that, better management practices emerge. This is, I think, the best contribution that spirituality can make to management.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ekaterina, good to see you here.
Thank you so much. I introduced the tradition that not everyone heard of, and that's the Fourth Way by George Gurdjieff. And I thought bringing new understandings and new traditions would be a great way to develop, but also going deeper into that. For instance, what I am very interested in, a few things actually within that tradition, because I'm practicing it, is his notion of mechanistic living, and that we are machines until we wake up. And given the whole shenanigan with AI and the machines coming into our life, it's that question of what is really human in us, and equating essentially the humanity to spirituality in a way. That's one thing. And the other one which I presented on is the importance of being aware and looking at what shocks do to our life, and the role of shocks, because there are a lot of shocks coming, and also in personal life as well. So what is looking at it as the condition for our awakening as well. So
thank you. When you mentioned Gurdjieff, this was so funny because I was going to do my dissertation on Gurdjieff's work, and it was approved. And then because of politics within the department, they said, and I had this letter, "We're so happy you're ready to do your dissertation, but of course you'll have to find a new topic because we had to let so-and-so go." And so my advisor wasn't there, and I didn't know you shouldn't have an advisor who wasn't tenured, and so I had to change my whole scholarly life. Otherwise, I might have done the work you're talking about, 40 years ago, but I didn't. Jyoti.
Thank you. Tom Cullum and I are leading a project with a publisher on Handbook of Organizational Research Methods that are explicitly targeted towards the eclectic methods that the MSR community uses. And over the past 2 days, it's become clear to me that the 15 chapters we had planned for that is not enough because there's so much more new development since the project was conceived. So I'm going to ask the publisher for an extension and request everybody in the room now to write up the research methods that they
Sure.
have used or
Sure.
mentors have used so that junior scholars have a ready source to go to know all the various acceptable methods to do MSR related work. So that's a plug for writing up from the transcripts of the session or otherwise and enabling a lot more work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. And it couldn't have been more perfect that you're speaking right at this moment because it's 1:15 and we're supposed to move on to the next question. And you did, because the next question is, what is one action you would like to take in the next month to nurture or advance the MSR research that feels most meaningful to you? And that's exactly what you've told us. And Tianyuan and I had a big conversation about whether we wanted the pressure of, do we really mean action within the next month or within the next year? And I said, I mean within the next month, because it may just be the first step, but what first steps or next steps would you like to take to move this forward? And this will have 20 minutes for us to share our essentialized, heartfelt, brief comments. But take a moment first to contemplate. Go, take a breath. We're not in a hurry. My wonderful teacher, Jean Houston, whom some of you may know and who passed away last month, used to say, she had ways of teaching about moving differently through time. And she said, take 1 minute, which will feel like all the time you need, to imagine to yourself what would feel really good for you to do in the next month towards the research you'd like to be doing. And I'm going to pause us for at least 20 seconds before I call on anyone. So take some breaths and feel like you have plenty of time to imagine that. Thank you. Konstantin, what is one action you'd like to take in the next month? It's good to see you again. I saw you a year ago or something, I remember.
Yeah, and 2 years ago I spoke at the Colloquium on the philosophical underpinnings of MSR research, and it's a big chunk for a junior scholar to take on, but it's so important for me because I think what we study here is not just for the sake of measuring the unmeasurable, but for personal development, and then of course in the bigger picture for the development of everyone around us and to improve or to make this place to make the world a better place. Judy was so kind to introduce me to Ian Mitrov.
So what you want to do, I'm going to really ask you and everyone.
Yeah, I am there. I'm right there.
Okay.
So he introduced me to Ian Mitrov, who unfortunately is not with us anymore. And that started the project, and I will pick it up. Jerry was so kind to support me, but also we took a kind of break. So what I will do is I will just pick it up with Jerry, and it's an invitation to everyone here. If you think the philosophical underpinnings are important. Why do we choose a certain research method? How do we question it? How do we bring in our own positioning? What kind of critical perspectives and reflectiveness can we bring into our own research? Then please reach out to me and support me and help me, because my experience is not many people take it on, not many people are interested to give it space. Thank you.
Thank you. And that relates to one of the sessions earlier where they quoted Descartes about how the roots of what we do is the metaphysics. So thank you. I want to see if anyone wishes to speak who hasn't spoken yet today before I call on people who have. So I am trying to look around the room and encourage and invite you who haven't spoken yet to jump into the conversation. And let's just pause a minute and give you space. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine, because listening, as you've said, Tian, is beautiful. But let's just make space for people who are a little, perhaps not sure they should jump in. Okay, we now have Anand. What you're going to do next.
Yeah, I speak a lot. Probably I've been speaking a lot. I have shared in the chat a graph. I am going to work on the pedagogies, research on pedagogies. I teach a paper called Ethics and Culture to my undergrad students. So I did a survey before this colloquium with my students on the alternative pedagogies they found effective. I'm going to reinforce this research by looking at a larger data. This graph does not capture all the strategies that we used in the classroom, but I am definitely going to work on the pedagogies for effective teaching and learning, and the teaching aids. I have developed a repository of about 8 or 10 activities and games that I do in my classroom. I am going to further fortify this and bring it out for the consideration of MSR.
Thank you. I'm going to jump to Ramya, who hasn't spoken yet, and then go back to the sequence. Ramya.
Yeah, it's still a little early not very early, but morning here in India. So I'm a little groggy. My left brain isn't working very well, but my right brain is telling me that this entire MSR colloquium is just bang on. It's so fantastic, and I can still feel the connectedness and oneness with everybody in this room. And it's been, I know I don't want to digress from Kathryn's question. I think the action that I would like to take in the next month to nurture advanced MSR research, it reinforces my research interest in indigenous research methodologies and alternative ontologies and epistemologies. I think that can be transformational for entire management research at large. I think MSR has immense potential, and this colloquium has really taken us to a new high, is the feeling that I'm having.
Thank you so much, Ramya. Thank you. And I do want to let everyone know, because you don't know where we're heading, that we have room for more general discussion. That's why we're moving it along so much. So if your comment is more general, where we'll be getting to, the last question is, what additional reflections, comments, or questions would you like to offer as we bring this to a close? So there is space for that. And I was pushed to make sure I leave space for that. Okay? So we're going to get there for the general ones. Sunil, are you there? And do you want to talk about what you're going to do next this month or next month?
Yes, so I will continue to work on my research on heartfulness practices and their effect in building authentic leadership.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And Tianyuan.
in the next month, I'm going to listen to my body and heart. Right now, my body tells me I need a break. I'm going to need a break and do whatever nurtures my body and spirit so that I can find the most meaningful research I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing in your whole self. Yeah. Yeah. So let's each take a breath. And I really do encourage you to contemplate, so what would you like to do? Not so much like it's planned, but what's speaking to you from your gut or your heart? What's calling you? Even if it's not fully formed, is there something that hasn't been spoken here yet that we'd like to have honored in the room?
An opportunity came last evening. One of my friends lost her younger sister. So she asked me to do a tribute to her, sending her pictures. I am going to work to design a book of tributes in the memory of the younger sister of my colleague.
Thank you. And I just want to, since nobody's trying to speak, I'm going to jump ahead to question 4 and we can come back to question 3 because the additional questions and comments, the session that you led, Anand, what I thought was so intriguing about that compared to the other sessions that I've been at here or other places was that it really seemed like you began it by inviting us into your home and into your culture. It felt very warm-hearted, but it didn't stay there. It also included analysis and methodology. And that's what science hasn't figured out so well to do. It's like, how do we speak from being rooted like trees or plants in our culture and invite people to taste that and also have a critical mind? And that's what I heard you attempting to invite us into. And I thought, this is very interesting and this is different. So others, either question as we transition slightly, either if it's now occurred to you, oh yeah, there is something I really want to do, you can really bring it in.
You want me to sing impromptu?
I think not this minute. Not this minute. Let's just see what happens with other people. But what is an action you'd like to take in the next month to nurture or advance the MSR research that feels most meaningful to you? Or if that's not coming to you, because that's a big Konstantin wants to get back in. Come on, join us.
Okay, so although I'm one of the co-organizers of this colloquium, I have to say, and I attended quite a few sessions, I was really surprised by the content that was presented. So much new, so much interesting, so much more important and interesting areas to explore. And I think that shows how important this platform is and how important the contribution of everyone in this room is and how important the collaboration is. And it has been stressed a number of times in this colloquium what kind of supportive community we have. And we also invite in our feedback survey people to join, for example, an open WhatsApp group to have this informal opportunity to get in touch. And if you just have this idea or somebody triggered something in you over the past 30 plus hours, to reach out to them and see if there's something that you could explore together. So it's really about us as a community and how we can work and support each other even more than we do so.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, do you know, I have an interesting. Gaetan, do you want to jump in? Do you want to read some from the chat, or do you have your own comment?
Oh, I have my own comment.
Great.
Um, I- I- this topic emerged, and I don't remember our original discussion about the mystical and research, but it's really very, very close to my heart. So I'm really so happy about this. And it feels like I have an opportunity now with all the energy that has been generated during this talk, those sessions and those exchanges, that there is an opportunity for deepening meditations and maybe there are so many new tools that I now have, or ancient tools that are coming up to the surface, and I'd love to use them to really go further into the research that MSR is doing and going even deeper into how meditation can lead to a deeper knowledge and the access of those knowledge and the retransmission. Several people mentioned channeling books, writing a book in 30 days. And I think there is probably an opportunity just after this huge amount of mystical experience, because in a way we are having a mystical experience, and to transform that mystical experience into something that we can go much deeper. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
That's lovely. Ravi, yes.
I just want to mention that to be in service of others. It's not really research based, but action based. And if you just look at that as an action, it's also a common thread that runs through a lot of religions. For example, in Islam, zakat, in Christianity, charity, in India, dana, and things like that. So I think that's a very easily observable measure. And that could be one common metric in all spiritual research or mythical research or whatever, because that's something that's easily observed, measured, and that's also a common value across many, many contexts. So to be in service of others, yeah, that's.
Do you know, you're bringing that in, it feels very important, Ravi. Wait, you just turned off your camera. Can you come back so I'm talking to you? Thank you. So, I wonder what projects are cooking in people's minds, whether they're here or not in MSR, that really would relate to that, to be in service of others. Because at this point in the world, there are so many people who are working in various ways to try to bring us together across differences, whether they're spiritual or cultural. And yet the dominant thing that we hear about is what's dividing us. And I think that I don't have an answer to this, but anything that MSR can do within the academy to help the academy focus on how management, which is what someone mentioned earlier, maybe you, but somebody did, how management can help lead us in ways that help us look at how we can be in service to one another and bridge across differences rather than emphasizing the differences. I think that if MSR could help the academy do that in the management world, there might be leverage there. It might be very interesting if that could happen. Jerry Bieberman.
I think I must have sat in on like 15 sessions. It seemed like it. And So having sat in on so many sessions, one thing let me lower my hand here. One thing that I noticed that came up yesterday was we were talking about the need for some use of some way to put up music and art, and apparently the JMSR no longer wants to do that because they want to just make sure they can get citations. So some way of encouraging music, art, and that kind of thing, I think would be very useful. The other thing that I noticed, and I think Tom mentioned this, is a part of this research colloquium seemed more like the retreat. Part of the retreat seemed more like the research colloquium. I mean, it was just interesting how and I want to really appreciate that what Tian and the team are trying to do here. So it wasn't just all in the head. I mean, there was a nice balance, and meditation and those kinds of things. So I think that was very important. The other thing is the use of uh, talking about the different techniques, the multi techniques that were mentioned. And just on a personal level, so after one of the sessions, the one I did yesterday on how you measure the unmeasurable. So right after that, somebody contacted me and said, let's work on an article together. So I think we want to work on a theoretical article talking about that. So in the next month, though, I'm busy packing to move to Phoenix. So I don't think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks.
Well, congratulations. I hope that you love where you go to after your move.
Thank you.
Let's see. Ekaterina and then Tom.
Yes, Kathryn, your question kind of sparked the idea for me, and I was contemplating on it for a while as well. On Sundays in the mornings, I go to the Buddhist community, the community of practice, and then there is a session in another little community, which is the shamanic ways, and then in the evening I go to the Gurdjieff. And if you really look across the world, there are so many different bubbles of communities. People wake up, they're just everywhere. The thing is, do we talk to each other? And I think one of the ways MSR can do it through the management is to unite that, because other forces unite. No question about that. We need to unite them, and these pockets of consciousness are everywhere and bubbling up.
Thank you. By the way, one of the things I've been thinking of is how very easy it is there's been a lot of focus in the mass press about disruption in the business world and the value of disruption. But when you focus on disruption, what happens to the ties that bind, that weave us together, the heart connections? It's very easy to lose that. So what you mentioned is so true about so many people working on so many things around the world. We're an example of that. And yet, it's really easy to disrupt things and to keep things from working well. And so how our research can be a counter stream to that, I don't know, but to me that's a really important question. Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess the next month is going to be driven by me being the chair of the MSR community, but I said this earlier as a kind of a joke, and Jerry picked up on it, and I said, I'm tired of all this conceptual stuff. I'm tired of writing papers. I've just been writing poetry lately, and I'm not a poet. I'm an engineer, but for some reason poetry is coming out of me now. So I'm feeling like what I would like to do is that kind of thing and be more contemplative, kind of step back from all the sort of, you got to do this now, and you got to do it in a conceptual way. And yeah, if we think about it in left and right hemisphere, I spent most of my life in the left hemisphere and doing things, thinking about things, concepts. And I'm really feeling a pull to doing experience and and being as opposed to doing. So maybe I'll do that after the
There's a very interesting Russian poem that maybe somebody here remembers the author's name. I don't, but it's called Parabolicheskaya Ballada, the Ballad of the Parabola. And it has to do with whether we go in a straight line to get where we're going or whether we go in a parabola. And it ends with saying, perhaps actually the parabola path is shorter. That's what occurred to me as I listened to you.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of done with the concept stuff, but we'll see. I gotta be on to manage.
Yeah, you do. We need you.
I can't
We need
just
you. So
can't get on my parachute.
follow Gene Houston's advice about time and take a very short amount of time, but imagine to yourself that it's much longer and is all the time you need, and really step back completely, but for some short time.
Yeah.
But make it complete and give yourself space.
We need you, Tom. We need you.
So we need you, but we need you in a good state. So give yourself this mini special retreat that's outside of time and then come back.
Okay. Oh, great.
Radha, jump back in.
Yeah. I just wanted to share that a few years ago we had one MSR symposium where people from 4 plus 4, 8 faiths put up a symposium together and went off very well. So this idea which I suggested in answer to a question that was put by you in the chat was multi-faith research, and a lot of people seem to be interested in that. So if MSR takes a lead, it can be put together and we can look at whether these are services provided or, contemplative service practices or, concepts or research or whatever we can think of that if MSR supports it. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Whew. What a lot of ground we're covering. Is there any place we need to go that we haven't yet? Yeah, Chen. Somebody was speaking. Was that you, Tianyuan?
Oh, yes. I'm just suggesting if there's no more participants willing to share, we can wrap up a little earlier. We don't have to stick to the 90 minutes.
No, yeah. But let's just pause for a minute and everybody take a breath. You don't see, all of my teaching recently is a form of meditation that's called anytime, anywhere, with the idea being it's not like you meditate at certain times and then you have the rest of your life like a research colloquium or a class. It's like you can meditate for a few moments in the middle of the research colloquium or in the middle of waiting online at the supermarket. So I suggest let's just pause for a minute and see if there's anything that really is important to be said that hasn't. And then if there isn't, we move on. So take some breaths and just feel at ease. And you might go back into gallery view and everybody look at one another, that we're all in this room together around the globe. How nice.
There's one question I think, Kathryn, you and me have discussed a bit before the closing plenary. That is, where are all the other people, all the other MSR members? We have only 20 people in this room. We have more than 200 registrants for the colloquium. And we have, I guess, at least 500 MSR members. So I wonder, what are they attracted to doing?
You've asked the question that I actually wrote down but decided not to ask. It really puzzles me, by the way. Those of you, I'm speaking to you because you're here, but I did something different than research colloquium. I had a series of sessions every quarter that were about how practice happened in different places and different cultures and how that related to our work. And I thought, oh, that's really going to excite people. Loads of people will want to come. But in fact, we had about this size group, or, the number of people that have been at the different sessions. which was kind of from, like 8 to about this, or maybe 25 or 7, that's the number we'd have for that too. So I don't know what happens with the fact that people express the wish to connect within MSR, but then we end up not having very big groups. So I don't know what that's about. Maybe we could do research somehow. I don't know. Maybe it's just meant to be this size. I have no clue. But I've tried to address that,
Simple
trying different
explanation, the
things.
normal distribution.
You think it's the normal distribution?
Simple explanation, the normal distribution. The normal distribution and the top 10% get A grade. So you give us the A grade and we'll close.
I don't know. It's an interesting question, and MSR hasn't figured that one out, John.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of things. First of all, you're not even during the sessions, because on Zoom you can turn the camera off. I don't know how many people just keep the camera on and then they're doing whatever, and you don't know if they're there or not there. And that's the difference between doing something on Zoom versus doing something in person. But I also noticed that plenary sessions get a lot of people, and then when you go to individual sessions, you get maybe 10 to 20. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much you publicize it. Look at Katerina doing all that public. She puts it in all over the place. And especially for this one, we're 2 hours away, we're 1 hour away, advertising every day for how long? I think you had 150 registered. How many were registered? I think about 150, right? And so even though 150 register, how many registered?
We have more than 200. Let me look at the number now. We have 227.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the largest number you had was the first one. Well, I wasn't awake for it. I mean, the ones in the middle of the night for me, I just couldn't do it. But I think the largest one was the first one. The opening plenary had almost 60, it looked like, right?
Over
I wanted,
over 60,
Margot
yeah.
Rose has been trying to get in. I want to bring her in.
It's not anything profound. It was more a reflection on this. I don't know. Like I just came from several different conferences through April and May, and it always stuns me who has already left before the last day. And it's like, we know the timing of the conference. People pay money to fly into these different ones, and then they're already like, they're sitting outside taking their calls because they're multitasking, and then leaving before the conference is actually even over. So it happened at a business process conference, and it also happened at a community impact development gathering of maybe 50 people, and by the last 2 sessions we were down to 20 people.
Yeah, I think
because they've just peeled off.
The only time I can remember where everybody stayed for everything was an in-person retreat after the conference. So we're all at a retreat center and we're all there together. But when you do something like this, that's one of the problems with doing something like this across all the time zones and trying to hit everybody. First of all, it's impossible to stay up for all 36 hours. That won't happen. Also, it's free. So, but as you said, even when people pay, they don't necessarily go. If you look at who goes at the AOM, right now, more people go to the PDWs. They got a big group. The research papers, it's the presenter and the discussants and maybe 2 other people. And, and that's just what happens at a conference. I knew one guy who used to go to his session and one other session, and then he would come back and talk about the other session and made it sound like he went to all the sessions. And I know he didn't, because he spent the whole time sightseeing.
So I'm going to transition us back to here and appreciation, because we're getting down. That question didn't lead us where I think it's going to be helpful for us to close. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to
celebrating the people who are here.
Yeah.
And the other people,
I do celebrate the people who are here. So Tianyuan, I pass it to you, and then I think you'll pass it to me.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. I highly, deeply appreciate the 20 grade A MSR members and participants of this colloquium. And I'm also, sending my loving kindness and and best wishes to all MSR members and yeah, to the entire, I guess, to the entire world. I think that's our shared hope that we can one day overcome the divisions, the differences, and yeah, reach harmony and oneness. So as we come close to the end of this colloquium, I want to offer my deepest thanks and best wishes. First, thank you to all of you for showing up across time zones, for bringing your presence, curiosity, wisdom, vulnerability, and care into this shared space. This colloquium has been shaped not only by the presentations, but also by your listening, your questions, your reflections, and the inspiration you have offered to one another. Also, thank you to all our speakers, presenters, facilitators, and flamekeepers. You have helped us dwell at the threshold of knowing with courage, humility, and imagination. You invited us into many forms of inquiry, scholarly, embodied, contemplative, relational, indigenous, dialogical, artistic, and mystical. Together, you have shown that research can be not only a way of knowing, but also a way of deepening presence, relationship, and transformation. I also want to offer a very special thank you to our organizing team and the tech volunteers. So much invisible work has gone into this event. The planning, communicating, scheduling, promotion, program building, Zoom hosting, troubleshooting, and all the many behind-the-scenes details that made this gathering possible. I have felt incredibly lucky to be surrounded by the right people. This team has been so amazing, carrying the hard work, not only with competence and professionalism, but also with heart and good humor. I felt truly proud of what we have created together and deeply grateful to each of you. Before we move to our closing practice, just 3 brief notes. And I will ask Daniel to please paste 3 links in the chat. First, we have created a post-colloquium feedback survey, and we will also send it by email after the colloquium to everyone who registered through Eventbrite. We would be very grateful if you could take a few moments to share your written reflections with us. Your reflection will help us build the community and the research we are hoping to do. Second, if you would like to keep in touch and let this work continue, we have created an informal MSR WhatsApp group. The link is also included in the feedback survey. You are warmly welcome to join. And finally, all recorded sessions will be made available on the MSR YouTube channel within 1 week after the colloquium. So you can revisit sessions you attended or watch sessions you may have missed. So thank you, Daniel, for pasting the 3 links. The first is the post-colloquium feedback survey. The second is the informal MSR WhatsApp group. And the third is the MSR YouTube channel in the chat. As we close, I hope this colloquium becomes a seed, something that continues to grow in our research, teaching, leadership, communities, and our inner lives. I would like to invite Kathryn to lead us in the final meditative practice of dedication and aspiration. May we continue this work in the spirit of collective awakening, global consciousness, and human flourishing. Kathryn, I now hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. So this will be very brief, everybody. In the tradition that I practice in, we often say that in meditations, 3 things are essential, but I think they're essential in a colloquium like this as well. Having a clear intention and being in touch with it at the beginning. During it, letting go of expectations and being present to whatever is happening and being present to it. And then finally, closing with an aspiration for what our actions and intentions together and the energy that we've created, just offering that out into the world, as some of you have already been doing in the chat. So I want to simply give us a moment to just kind of sit with our personal intentions for sharing the results of this beautiful colloquium with all the different cultures, all the different researchers, all the different scholars and students and managers, and with all beings, and with this planet, because many of us have looked at climate and the state of the planet. So my wish, coming from a closing that I'm familiar with, is a very simple phrase. May the hearts of all beings be open and their wisdom radiate from within. And I'll just ring this beautiful old gong and just let the sound of it radiate out as well. Thank you, everybody.